At 7:30 a.m. on May 10, 1972, in the skies over North Vietnam, near Kép Airfield, just east of Hanoi, U.S. Navy Lieutenant Curt Dosé strapped into his F-4 Phantom II aboard the aircraft carrier USS Constellation. His mission was part of Operation Linebacker, a decisive air campaign launched to stop a North Vietnamese invasion of the South by destroying fuel depots, airfields, and supply lines. Within minutes of takeoff, what began as a routine security mission over Haiphong Harbor would explode into one of the most violent and historic jet battles of the Vietnam War, fought at treetop level against MiG-21s in a sky filled with fire and moments that decided life or death. May Alawani describes the mission in detail. May 10, 1972, 7:30 in the morning. Over the Gulf of Tonkin, the air is already heavy, humid, and charged with tension. The deep, rolling roar of engines breaks the calm as 30 U.S. Navy aircraft lift from the deck of the USS Constellation and turn west toward North Vietnam. Below them, the sea looks deceptively peaceful, but ahead lies one of the most dangerous airspaces on Earth. This is not a routine mission. This is the opening blow of a focused, relentless air campaign meant to break the momentum of a communist invasion of South Vietnam. The operation has a name, Linebacker, and it will change the air war forever. Inside the cockpits, pilots run through checklists with quiet precision, knowing that within minutes, they'll be flying into a storm of steel and fire. If you're watching this story unfold, take a moment to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who appreciates real history told from the cockpit level. Because stories like this are built on seconds, decisions, and people who rarely get a second chance. The jets climb higher, forming up as the Vietnamese coastline comes into view, and the mission clock begins to tick faster. In Washington, the political situation is tense, but up here, there is no politics, only survival. North Vietnamese forces have pushed hard into the south, triggering a decisive response. This time, the United States is not just reacting. Harbors will be mined, supply lines will be severed, targets deep inside North Vietnam will be struck again and again. The strike package today includes A-6 intruders and A-7 Corsairs, tasked with hitting petroleum storage tanks in the port city of Haiphong. Flying escort are F-4 Phantoms from VF-92, fast, powerful, and brutally effective when handled by experienced crews. Lieutenant Curt Dosé is one of those pilots. He's flying wingman to Lieutenant Austin Hawkins, and together they stay tight with the formation as they approach the target area. From altitude, Haiphong looks compact and industrial, wrapped in haze and coastal humidity. The calm lasts only seconds. Suddenly, the sky erupts. Anti-aircraft guns open fire, sending thick, black flak bursts climbing upward. The explosions bloom violently around the jets, shaking cockpits and rattling nerves. Hawkins and Dosé peel away from the bombers at a pre-planned point, but almost immediately, Hawkins realizes the hook point is directly over a 100mm gun battery that has just come alive. The flak is heavy, dense, swirling bursts that seem to hang in the air. Dosé can see them forming and expanding around his aircraft, close enough to feel through the controls. The pair push through, maneuvering hard, trying to escape the kill zone. Then, over the radio, a voice cuts through the chaos. It's Red Crown, the U.S. Navy radar cruiser stationed in the Gulf of Tonkin. The call is urgent. Bandits, blue bandits, bullseye 040 at 70. Those words snap everyone to full alert. Blue bandits means MiG-21s, the most advanced fighters in the North Vietnamese arsenal. Bullseye is Hanoi. 040 at 70 miles means the threat is coming from the northeast, likely from Kép Airfield. Dosé and Hawkins don't hesitate. They brake hard right, spread out into combat formation, push their throttles forward, and accelerate at full military power. The mission just changed. They are no longer escorts, they are hunters. Minutes later, Kép Airfield comes into view. Dosé scans the runway and immediately spots movement. Two MiG-21s sit near the threshold with engines running, ready to taxi. For a split second, he considers swinging around and firing a sidewinder while they're still on the ground, but before he can finish the thought, his radar intercept officer, Jim McDevitt, calls out urgently. Two MiGs are already rolling. Halfway down the runway, they're taking off now. Dosé reacts instantly. Both Phantoms pitch down hard, diving from about 6,000 feet toward the deck. The environment turns hostile in an entirely new way. The air is thick with moisture, and the rapid descent causes condensation to explode inside Dosé's cockpit. White fog pours from the vents, filling the space and blinding him at the worst possible moment. He's now flying supersonic, just 50 to 100 feet above the runway, with almost no forward visibility and a Sidewinder missile growling in his headset. He doesn't panic. He reaches down and dumps the air conditioning, clearing the fog just enough to see again. Ahead, the MiGs lift off and immediately punch away their external fuel tanks. They break left, trying to gain separation. The Phantoms stay glued to them, dangerously low over the terrain. Trees whip past beneath the wings. Dosé remembers lifting a wing slightly just to clear the tops of them. There is no margin for error here. One mistake means impact. As the first MiG turns about 30 degrees, Dosé pulls in from a lag pursuit position and slides into what every fighter pilot dreams of, a near-perfect firing solution. The distance closes to about 1,500 feet. He squeezes the trigger. The AIM-9D Sidewinder leaps from the rail, its solid rocket motor igniting with a violent flash. The missile immediately makes a hard 90-degree turn, curving inside the MiG's turn circle. For a moment, Dosé thinks it's malfunctioning. He considers firing again. Then the missile arcs back into the fight and detonates behind the MiG, but misses. He fires a second Sidewinder. It follows a similar path, curving aggressively, almost unnaturally. But this time, at the last instant, it tightens its turn, drives straight up the MiG's tailpipe, and disappears inside. There's a brief pause, one potato, two potato, and then the sky erupts in a massive orange fireball. Debris scatters, smoke boils upward. The MiG is gone. It's Dosé's first kill, and it's the first victory of a day that will go down in aviation history. But there's no time to celebrate. Another MiG is still airborne. Dosé asks McDevitt about the radar-guided Sparrow missiles. They try to get a lock, but at this altitude, the ground clutter overwhelms the radar. The system refuses to cooperate. Frustration builds as seconds slip away. Dosé comes up with a risky idea. He tells Hawkins he'll fire a Sparrow in front of him, hoping to force the MiG to turn and give Hawkins a shot. To do it, he pitches the nose up and begins a barrel roll, breaking what he calls fighter pilot good habits. As he rolls, scanning the sky, he suddenly sees something far worse. Two more MiG-21s are approaching in tight formation from below and behind. 5 o'clock position, belly side. Now the fight has turned deadly. The Phantom's best option is to turn into the attack. They brake hard right, forcing the MiGs to overshoot. The jets scream past each other at unimaginable speed. Dosé and Hawkins push the throttles forward and accelerate past Mach 1.1, then Mach 1.2, trusting the Phantom's raw power to pull them out of danger. For a moment, it seems to work. Then McDevitt spots a flash of silver. A MiG-21 is sliding in behind Hawkins, lining up for a shot. Instinct takes over. The two Phantoms turn toward each other, trying to spoil the MiG's aim. Just as they begin the maneuver, the MiG fires an air-to-air missile. It streaks forward and detonates close to Hawkins's jet. The Phantom shudders violently but stays intact. Its rugged design absorbs the blast. The MiG immediately breaks away, retreating. Dosé starts after it, but McDevitt's voice cuts in. They're out of missiles. There's nothing left to shoot. Dosé knows he's right. The chase ends there. The Phantoms reform and turn back toward the sea, the adrenaline slowly draining as the carrier comes back into range. As they approach the USS Constellation, the enormity of what just happened begins to settle in. VF-92 has a new MiG killer. The mission is a success. Linebacker has begun, and the air war over North Vietnam has entered a brutal new phase. If you're finding value in stories like this, stories told from the inside where seconds matter and survival isn't guaranteed, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and share it. It helps keep these real accounts alive and accessible. The jets trap aboard, hooks slamming into arresting wires, decks rushing up beneath them. Crewmen swarm the aircraft, inspecting damage, counting holes, touching scorched metal. Dosé climbs down from the cockpit, legs stiff, hands still trembling slightly. He's alive, his wingman is alive, and somewhere inland, a burning wreck marks a moment that will be written into the long, violent history of air combat. That day will see more engagements, more losses, more victories. But for Curt Dosé and his crew, May 10, 1972, will always be remembered as the day training, instinct, and luck aligned at treetop level over enemy territory. A day when fog filled a cockpit, missiles curved impossibly through the sky, and survival came down to decisions made in heartbeats. And this story doesn't end here. In the next video, we'll explore. At 7:30 a.m. on May 10, 1972, in the skies over North Vietnam, near Kép Airfield, just east of Hanoi, U.S. Navy Lieutenant Curt Dosé strapped into his F-4 Phantom II aboard the aircraft carrier USS Constellation. His mission was part of Operation Linebacker, a decisive air campaign launched to stop a North Vietnamese invasion of the South by destroying fuel depots, airfields, and supply lines. Within minutes of takeoff, what began as a routine security mission over Haiphong Harbor would explode into one of the most violent and historic jet battles of the Vietnam War, fought at treetop level against MiG-21s in a sky filled with fire, and moments that decided life or death. May Alawani describes the mission in detail.